Hi there, and welcome to week 5 rolling training. As you know, or you will have realised by now, this is a pre-recording. I'm not doing this live, so that hopefully all of you who are celebrating Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day, can tune in as and when it suits you. Week 5 rolling training, this is all about our first steps to manage a book and also about planning your new team members. Now, a little while ago, myself and Zoe prepared some training to do with planning with your new distributor. I also attended some training when we were on the Eagle Managers, as all of us managers did, regarding the first steps to manager. So what I've actually done this week for you is amalgamate the two. The first steps to manage a book is something that I actually didn't realise the importance of or the significance of until I actually saw Jane Leach's training in Greece. So it was something that I've now I use a lot more effectively. I use it a lot more in my planning sessions. I emphasise the importance of it to my team members. So I felt it was important to incorporate some of Jane's training into this particular week. So you've got actually a sort of mix-up of all 3 trainings. So week 5, the first steps to manager training, and also our planning with your new distributor. So I hope it's going to be helpful for you and not too long. There's a lot of slides, but I'm going to speak quickly, so hopefully we can keep this down to less than an hour for you. Okay, so the first steps to manage a book. What's so important about it? Well, I think the thing that I didn't realise is it is really the backbones to our business, and you do not need anything else whatsoever. If you've got that book with you, you have got the answers to everything that you need, particularly for that first 30 to 60 days when you get started. It's such a simple book. It's got a really clear explanation of the business cycle, a really clear explanation of the marketing plan. It's got questions and answers in there, you know, that will help you when you're prospecting. It's got scripts for you to use even. And what a lot of people say is that you should carry it around with you and have it with you all the time, and it'll just start to fall apart eventually. But the fact is, it is so simple to use. It's easy to coach, and it helps you put a structure in place when you're working with that new team member. And certainly for myself, I felt a good sort of 12 months ago, I didn't have a lot of structure for my new team members. And what this book does is it allows you to stick to that structure. You can split it up easily into 4 planning meetings, which will cover that first 30 days of your business. It creates really good habits. It's a really great way to explain the business to your new team members, and it also is great for those who want to move a little bit more quickly, because it easily sets out how you can get to manager very quickly. The other thing that's really important is that you can duplicate. Now, what I would say right from the very beginning is, whatever tracks you are running on, whatever you feel is necessary, you have to think about how your business is going to change if you start recruiting other team members. Because the whole point of this business is that we duplicate what's happened to us. And if you haven't gone through this system yourself, how are you going to duplicate that to your team members? So regardless of your journey, as soon as you start to recruit people and bring them into your team, you need to be aware of the structure that's in place to help you to coach those people. And if you haven't been through that structure yourself, if you're not logging on to rolling training, if you're not attending success days, if you haven't put these systems into place yourself, how are you going to duplicate that to your team members? So regardless of really what you feel is right for you, if you're going to start recruiting, you have to bear in mind what's suitable for your team, because they may be on a faster path than you. They may want to really take hold of the training, and if you haven't been through that yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to duplicate. So it's quite important that even if you're not going to do some of these yourself, you need to be aware of them for your team. So certainly this was me when I joined Forever. Although I had already been using the products, I felt completely overwhelmed, if I'm honest. you know, you suddenly find yourself on Facebook groups, you suddenly find yourself being asked to watch all these videos. There's lots and lots of terminology that you don't understand, even down to FBO and WD, I can't even spell it now, WDY KL, Yehudi and Olis. There's all this terminology that we just don't really understand, and you do feel a bit overwhelmed, and you do feel that suddenly everything's being thrown on you. So what we've learned over the last good few months is that everybody's journey is different, and whilst I'm going to suggest for you a system to put in place to help your new team, it's just a guideline. It's not going to be for everybody. Some people are going to move more slowly, some people are going to move more quickly, and you've got to look at each individual team member and what they need. And regardless of how fast you want to go, those team members might not be ready to move that fast. So we're kind of at that stage now where, you know, we're slowing things down a little bit for that first month to make people feel less overwhelmed and to help them to feel that they're not, they haven't got too much to do. So basically, once you recruit your new team member, this is what you're going to do. As I said, this is a guideline. It's not a you must. It's something that many of us put into place. But again, your team may be doing something slightly different, and that's absolutely fine. So obviously, you're going to complete your online sign up. Then the next thing I would suggest is straight away give them that first steps to manager book, and you're going to ask them to have a little read through before you see them next. Have a flick through, get to know what's in there. You're then going to send a welcome email. You should have received one of these yourself, so you can just duplicate that to your team. You're then going to send an email to customer service, and you're going to activate your team member globally if that's what they wish. And then the next thing you should be doing is to be sending them some form of pre-planning video. So you can either find this on PowerPod, and it's going to be pod number 1, or you can find it on QLS, and it's just called the pre-planning video. And that's going to give your team member something to welcome them, get them ready for this first planning meeting. And it's quite important that they've watched that before you meet with them. But the main thing is you've got to try ever so hard to see them as soon as possible. So that first planning meeting really needs to be put in place. Well, Sam says, Sam Pierce, she says within 2 days. So certainly within a week if possible. Because what we want to do is we want to capture the excitement, and we want to keep that going. And I'm sure we've all found that once people lose momentum, if we don't help them straight away when they're excited, they've started their new business, they've got their box, they've got their products, they're ready to go, and the people who keep putting off that first meeting with you, sometimes they just don't get going at all. We've got to try and harness that excitement if we can. So the other things that we're going to do, and this is something that I would say proceed with caution, because there was a time when we used to welcome people onto every single Facebook group possible, and a lot of us don't do that anymore. So you're going to join people to the Facebook groups, the support groups, really slowly. And again, look at your individual team member and see what you think they need. So your options are to join them to Sunshine and then Sunshine Product Library, and that's what I do first. I don't join people to anybody else. I join people to those 2 groups first before I even see them again, because if I add them to any more after that, it's just going to become overwhelming. But your other options obviously are, if you've got your own team page, you would add them to that slowly. There's Team Win, Sam's page in the UK, Power Team, which is Natalie Healer's team in the UK, and then obviously UAE Power Team. But I actually don't add anybody to those sort of other groups until they've been with us for about a month. Then you're going to join them to your team chat, and again, that's something I leave it a couple of days, let them get used to the team page before I add them to the chat. And then, as I've already said, you're going to organise that first planning meeting as soon as possible, certainly within a week. If you can do it sooner than that, even better. Keep that momentum going. So that first month, what's it all about? It's all about settling in. We don't have any expectations. That's true to some point, but some people will want to move quickly and some people will just want to get to know the products, get to know the business. You have to look at that person without your own expectations. Find out what they want from this business. So number one, allow them to become a product of the product. Get their products out, ask them to find out about the products, start drinking the gel, start using the creams, and start to form an opinion of which products they like and which ones they're not so keen on. There is a possibility of a launch in the first month. And again, this is something we've changed our thinking of a little bit. Not everybody is ready to do a launch in that first month. And there are other options available now, which I'm going to talk about later. We're going to get them familiar with the Facebook groups in that first month. We're going to get them familiar with our training tools that we have, either PowerPod or QLS. But the most important thing is we're going to try and get them into some kind of routine. We're going to get them into some kind of routine of training through planning meetings and also training through our weekly webinars, so that we're asking them to commit to Sunday nights online, a planning meeting for that first month, hopefully once a week, and a BP if you can get them to a BP in that first month as well, at least one. If you can get them to 2 or more, even better. So every new team member we're hoping is going to have 4 meetings in that first month, and that equates to about 1 a week. So what's our role in all of this then? So let's see, we're obviously going to be excited with them. We want to share their enthusiasm. We want to explore why they've joined Forever. We're going to show them everything. We're not just going to tell them, we're going to show them. So they're going to be watching us, they're going to be watching what we're doing. We're not going to send them out to do a tabletop on their own. We're not going to send them out to do a party on their own. We're not going to send them out to talk to people about the business on their own. We're going to be there with them, showing them what to do, because they're going to learn far more from listening to us than just us telling them. We're going to believe in them. We're going to work at their own pace. Okay, so it says set the pace. I believe, and that might not be the case for everybody, but allow them to set the pace a little bit as well. And we are going to prepare them for the roller coaster that they're going to reach, because it really is going to be very up and down for them. We've all experienced that euphoria, and then also when we get those no's, how we come crashing down again. So we're going to help them with that as well. But most importantly, we're going to lead from the front. So we're going to be setting an example of how to run the business effectively and efficiently, because if we're not doing it, how can we expect our team members to do it too? So that first planning meeting, what are we going to be doing? Well, it should be, and everybody says the same, there's some great videos there about the first planning. I know that last time Carla did the week 5 training, she popped Gemma Easton's training up, and everybody says the same. That first meeting is really important, and it has to be allocated more time than the others, so it can take up to 2 hours. What you're going to do is you're going to use that First Steps to Manager book to structure the meeting, and you're going to be focusing on pages 1 to 9. So what you're going to do at first is you're going to spend at least 40 minutes discussing the goals. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And then you're going to be starting to look at the marketing plan as well. Now, what you might want to do is to actually screenshot some of these slides. That these ones with the purple background are from Jane Leach's First Steps to Manager training. These little post-its, I actually have those now in a copy of the First Steps to Manager, and I have that with me when I do my planning, so that it keeps me on track. So I've actually copied out what's on these, popped it onto post-its, and popped them into my First Steps to Manager book. I'm a bit like that, I'm quite a visual person, but it just keeps me on track with what's going. So when I'm talking to people about their long and short-term goals, it's very much now clear to me that it's all about what you're prepared to work for. Okay, it's not a wish list, it's not a what would you like, it's not like a goal board. This is much more specific. What are you prepared to work for? Because people won't work unless they're going to be connected to their why. So the first thing that you're going to do is this short-term goals, whether it's personal, family or business, you have to remember this is 3 to 9 months. So 3 to 9 months isn't very long, and that's all about thinking, what do you need? What do you need right now? Not what do you want, what would you like, what do you wish for, but what do you need? because that is an immediate goal for people that they can connect to. And then you start to look at the more long-term goals. What do you want? So that's your 1 to 2 or 2 to 5 years. Things that you want in the future, and those are the bigger goals, really. And then what Jane Leach says is, she says, right, tell me now, right now, what is the most important goal that we have written down? And what she asks people to do is actually to circle it. And then she simply asks the question, are you ready to go to work with me to reach this goal? And then people either say yes or they say no. And that means they've given that verbal commitment to you to say, yes, I'm going to work with you to reach this circled goal. And then she says, let's put a plan around this goal then. Let's work towards it together. So that can spend quite a lot of time. It doesn't have to be emotional. It doesn't have to be soul searching. We're looking at, what do you need now? What do you want in the future? What's the most important goal? Put a circle around it, and are you ready to go to work with me to reach that goal? Okay, so what do we do next? The next thing you're going to do in this first planning meeting, and it is quite important, is you're going to help people to understand the case credits. Because even though people may have seen these in their business presentation, and we don't talk about case credits as much as we used to, but even though we have talked about them vaguely, people won't remember. They won't remember how it works. So all we're saying at this point is that basically a case credit is a point system allocated to each product. Okay, now I'm sorry this is all in pounds, but obviously this is Jane's slides, and I can't convert them because they're a PDF. But basically, she talks about using or getting the case credits and talking about this point system allocated towards those products. And then how are we going to build up those case credits? Through personal use, so using and exploring that whole range. Through retail, looking for those 20 plus customers, and each of those customers spending about £25, so that's about, I'm just going to have to do a bit of sums now, just over 1,000 dirhams, isn't it? And that's going to give you £500. And then we're also going to build case credits through recruiting assistant supervisors as well. So you can explain that to people. If they recruit somebody with that box, they're also going to get two CCs. So yes, you're going to basically talk your way briefly through those case credits. And also, if somebody's not prepared to recruit at this stage, just talk about each product and how many case credits there are for each one. You're then going to explain the marketing plan. Now, I actually, at this point, I don't go too far into the marketing plan. I ask people if they understand whereabouts on that marketing plan they are, and then I actually draw a circle about where they are now, and then I draw a circle about where we want them to get to next. Because if you start talking too far ahead, you may lose some people, not all people, but some people. So make sure that people understand where they are and what that means. So you're going to bring it to life, you're going to talk about that marketing plan, and even if you want, you know, put their name right next to that supervisor position and the assistant supervisor. This is where you are, this is where we want you to get. And then we're going to help people to understand how to get there. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to talk to them about what being an assistant supervisor means for them. And what she very much does is, like I've said, is try to bring it to life. So she encourages us to break down that marketing plan into the monetary value and the profit, because money speaks a lot more than CCs. So she would even say or go through, look, this is you, and put your name there where it says assistant supervisor, and you're getting 35% discount on all your products when you buy them, which means you're going to make 35% profit. And she then goes through various products. So on an aloe vera gel, you're going to make this much profit. On a C9, you're going to make this much profit. If you sell some RG, you're going to make this much profit. And so because people in their short-term goals generally want a certain financial amount, this is going to really, really help them to see what they need to sell to get that amount of money. Okay, make it personal to them. She then goes through how much you make if you recruit somebody. She tells them specifically, and then she goes through even examples. So if you do this much retail and you recruit this many people, you're going to make this much money. And I think, you know, we've shied away from talking about money to people, and I don't think we have to. So if somebody's new to the business and if they are focusing on retail for now, I would go to this point and then I would stop. I wouldn't go any further just at that point. But if people are interested and want to know, then you would do the same with each level. And you would, again, write on it. So when you become a supervisor, you're going to make 38% profit for every 1 cc. You retail, you're going to make this much profit. And actually take the time to sit down and work it out if you want to go through this with your customers. You know, it's worth putting those post-its in your book and actually working out examples of how much they're going to make. I should have got that out for you actually, and then I could have read it out in dirhams. But so what we want to do is we want to help people by giving examples of what they need to do to make so much profit and get them to where to the financial or monthly financial totals that they're looking for. So you're going to talk about very briefly again, perhaps just what it means to get to manager and why they might want to work towards that goal. The reason being that many more doors open, they're going to have a stronger financial business, they're going to have to recruit people to do that, and what you're also going to talk about as well is if they can get to a position like senior manager, it's going to make their business even more stable. And the way that people describe being a senior manager is almost like having stabilizers on a bicycle, because if you've only got one manager, that's not stable. If you've got two, it's like having those stabilizers. They're going to help to keep your business strong and to keep it really, really stable. And also talk about people within the team who've reached these levels. Okay, that's another thing that you can be doing. So at the end of that first session, I'd also be talking briefly about the Facebook groups, just to make sure they've had a look at the team page and the product library. I'd be checking if they've got their password for Forever Living. Have they actually gone on to it? It's amazing how many people get their password and don't even log on and have a look. So show them, log on with them and show them what's there. I'd be explaining the Sunday webinar systems, because it's all very well saying, click on this link and do this and do that. Some people need showing. The webinar system is not straightforward, and people don't understand that once they click on the link, that's not necessarily going to take them straight in. They're going to have to download it to their phone, etc., etc. Talk about and show them how to use PowerPod and QLS, because at some point they are going to have to sign up to one of these training tools. And then I also just briefly mentioned the website options, that there's a free one, and I show them my website. So I show them the free one, I show them my FLP one, and also my QLS, so that they can see you know, what's going to potentially in the future be best for them. Say homework, but generally what we're saying to people is, before I see you next, I want you to start using the products. I want you to start recommending them to your friends and your family. I want you to start working on your who do you know list, show them where it is in the book. Maybe start thinking about a business name. I want you to watch the PowerPod training or the retailing that I'm going to send you. So you're going to send them the next set of videos to watch before you meet again. And I want you to start joining the Sunday night webinars. That's what I would be saying to people. So the next planning session, and it's really, really important that you do this within 7 days, because again, we want to keep that excitement. People are going to have started to use those products. They're going to be recommending to their friends, and they need to know now how to retail. So this session is all about retailing. The other thing I do, because I use the QLS training system, I can keep a tab of whether people have watched the videos or not. And it's really important they've watched those retailing videos before I meet with them again. Otherwise, it's going to take me twice as long to explain things. If I can refer back to the videos they've watched, it's going to be a much, much more effective planning meeting. So I really like people to have watched those videos, and I can check if they have using that QLS system, which is why I like it so much for once you've got a team together. So you're going to talk to them how we're going to develop those CCs through retail, and what we're really hoping is that they're going to be trying to reach that 4 CC, if not 6. What we say is, obviously, if they can and they're happy, we want them to start thinking about promoting a launch, and that might be in their home. You know, you might be talking about sending invites out, what happens on the night, but a launch is going to really start to generate some CCs for them. And, you know, it's going to help them to find an instant bank of customers that they can look after and follow up. If they're not happy to host a home launch, maybe they've got some friends who might do one for them. So talk about it. It's one of the methods of retailing, one of the most effective to generate CCs and also an instant customer base. We also have the option now of the online launches. There's 2 different types. You can actually do one through Skype, but you can also do our ones on Facebook, and now we've also got the online lives to do. So if people aren't so happy to do the launches, they have got other options to now jump on team launches and also generate instant CCs. But again, you're going to have to explain how they work so that people know how to invite people and add them to the group, etc. We also say within that first month, please try and do a C9. Make sure you're doing it yourself and see if you can get a couple of friends to do it with you. That's going to generate, again, instant CCs for you, and is going to give exposure of the C9 to your customers and you know, kind of introduce it to them. The other thing that we do as well is, obviously, I think in our team it's one of our strongest things, is that we give out those personal use product packs. We're now not so keen or not so set on everything being in a beautiful basket. Just give people something to take. One item is absolutely fine. Less or less now, I'm giving out baskets of items. I am personalising. I am specialising my pups. My trial packs, so I do ones for children, I do ones for hair, I do the skincare, you might do a personal care pack, you might do an animal care pack. Find out what's going to really interest a new customer and give them what they want. Give them less products rather than more, because again, that gives you something else to share later on. If they've had all the products to start with, then you've got nothing to follow them up with. So those are our obviously that's what we're going to be talking about in the second planning, and we're also going to be referring back to the retail videos, and that's why it's important that, you know, people have watched them beforehand. As I've already said, people aren't going to feel ready necessarily to have a launch straight away, but we have got those options of the monthly online parties now. They're an option to generate instant CCs for people, but you have to explain how people can join those. This is a great page as well, which is often forgotten at the end of the First Steps to Manage a Book, and it basically is all about go through each product, who is a potential customer for you, and then follow it up. So if people are struggling to think about, you know, the products, go into the product library, read about that product, who's going to be a good person to recommend that to. So that, I think, is something that isn't often highlighted, those particular pages. They're at the back of the book, they get forgotten, and I think they're quite good for people at this second meeting at that retail stage to help them think about who they can go to with the products. Because we're talking about retailing, I'd also be talking about you know, the possibility of a customer Facebook group. I'd be talking about customer care. Again, refer them to PowerPoint videos for that. Oh, I can't remember the lady's name. The amazing retailing lady. It'll come to me. But also at this stage, I'd be giving them customer profile sheets. I'd be talking about the 1 to 31 folder. I'd have that with me to show them on whatever system you have in place. We also have an activity tracker, which is purely for retail. And I think this is a good point or a good place where you could introduce this if it's suitable for that person and isn't going to overwhelm them. Because people might be starting to talk about Facebook and talking to customers, you have to start talking about compliance and social media do's and don'ts. I also mentioned about ethics and poaching at this stage because we don't want people talking to people or customers just because they're their friends if they know that they've already got a distributor. That's not the way we work in our team at all. And also show them around PowerPod or QLS, because if they haven't joined at this point, somewhere in this first month, they really should be thinking about joining. And the homework then is carry on, get into that rolling training structure and routine of every Sunday night, and then we're going to send them the next set of videos, which are going to be about recruiting, if they're ready. Now, I've had people who've got to this planning meeting number 2, which is just retail, and then they've said, that's all I want to do just for now. And so that's as far as we go. I'm not going to start sending them recruiting videos and go through the rest of the First Steps to Manage Your Book, which is all about contacting and recruiting, if that's just going to completely freak them out. So again, look at each of your team members individually. If they've said to you, I just want to retail, don't laugh, Zoe, because I know that was my phrase, I just want to retail, don't give them all the rest of the stuff yet. Give them another couple of weeks, another month, another 6 months, whatever it takes, okay? But if they're keen to start retailing, then recruiting, then obviously you can carry on at this point. So planning 3 then is going to be all about contacting and recruiting, and you're going to be moving then from the First Steps to Manager page 12 onwards. Okay, so you're going to start initially talking to people about the business cycle, and it's really, really important that people understand this. And again, this is an area that I think that people miss out. And yet, if you're going to start recruiting someone, you need to understand the very simple cycle that we take people through. So why do we use this Forever Business Building cycle? Well, basically, it's to learn the relevant skills of building a business. So we start with the who do you know list, we contact people, we show them the opportunity, we take them to a business presentation, and then we do our planning. It's as simple as that. And it's so that we can create that duplication. So if you just go and talk to somebody and then recruit them, and you haven't shown them the opportunity or taken them to a business presentation because you didn't think that was important or you don't understand about the business cycle, they're going to do the same with anybody they recruit, and so on and so on and so on. So the idea is that globally and locally we are all doing the same. It's to show our prospects what is possible and how easy it is. We do this, then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. 4 steps, very simple. And some of our contacts will stay in step 1, where we're just contacting them. Some will go a little bit further, where we're actually showing them the opportunity, maybe a one-to-one or sit down with a coffee. And some might even get as far as the business presentation, but you're going to have people all the way around that cycle. 3 or 4 or 5, 6, more than people on that cycle at one time. So you could actually, and what Jane Leach says is, you actually talk about it backwards. And what she would be saying to people, well, on this business cycle, you're here at action. You're at this point because we're actually taking action on your business. But do you remember when I took you to the business presentation? Or do you remember when I sent you the business presentation? That's this section here at the bottom. And do you remember when we had that coffee and we first talked about the business? That's the showing, that's the one-to-one section. And do you remember when I first got in touch with you and I talked to you and said I wanted to meet with you to show you something exciting? Well, that's the contacting part. And before that, You were on my list of people that I know. So she talks about going backwards because it makes people comfortable to see that they have gone through that system. And once again, if you have not taken them through that system, they're not going to feel comfortable to take people through that system either. So I hope that makes sense. So the other thing you can do at this stage is actually to show them why we need people to help us and to map out their first promotion to supervisor. So to look at 5 people who potentially might come on board and join their team. And if they all do, even just 2 CC, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you do your 4, that's 14 each month. So in 2 months you've made supervisor, because that's 28 and you only need 25 to get to supervisor. So she says just look at those 5 and very simply map out that base month of how they're going to get to supervisor. If you want to go further, you can. Go on to managers, just show how simple it is. So you're then going to sit down and hopefully they'll have started their Who Do You Know list. And you're going to explain how and why we create this list. I really like the way that Joan Leach does this, because what she says is that, you know, obviously this is your database, and you're going to hopefully have between 300 and 1,000 people on that list. So she says, you know, don't just think small, make different lists. So you're going to have your Facebook list, maybe you've got a LinkedIn list, Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever. But she also says have a local list, a national list, which would be the case in the UK, and then a global list, and keep them separate so you're actually working from different lists. But I love the way she draws this out, because it really makes you think about where you are now and different people that you can contact, and also your past and also your future, so places that you might be in the future. So you know, think global. And the other thing she says as well is, which I love, and I hadn't even thought about this, we all print off our Facebook lists, don't we? But if you write it down, as you're writing, other people come to mind. So if you're writing down, I don't know, one of your old work colleagues, if you just see their name and move on to the next one, you're not thinking deeply about your Who Do You Know list. But if you're writing those names down, the chances are you might go, oh yes, and I worked with such and such in that department and such, and they had this friend and that friend. So by writing it down, it becomes much more real, she says. And for each name you write down, obviously think, who do they know? So I quite like the way that she did that as well, to expand your Who Do You Know list. The next thing is that she talks about profiling one of their prospects with them so that they can continue then alone. So sit down and actually do that profiling. But one of the things that Jane said was, when you're profiling, be very, very clear about what the objective is. What do you want from them? Do you want to get a one-to-one to them? Do you want to get that video to them? Do you want to direct them to your website, or are you contacting them about products? So be prepared and feel comfortable about what you're going to say. Make sure that you're inviting them, but be very, very clear about the outcome, whether it's products and business, or sorry, products or business, both, or you know, or something, or you know, just to contact a hi, because you can't always go straight in with the business opportunity either if you haven't spoken to somebody for a long, long time. So be very, very clear. Also, when you're profiling, don't forget how you're going to contact them. Are you going to phone them, text them, send a message, or do a face-to-face? And then think about your approach, as we've said. Are they inviting them to a product launch? Do you want to do a pop drop? Might they be interested in a C9? Or are we talking about getting them together for a coffee to do a one-to-one? So you're going to profile that first list of 15 to 20 people, or you're going to hope that your new team member is going to do that. And remember, and this is really important, that all the contacts and the prompts and the scripts and the answers to questions are also in your first steps to manage your book. And we've been through that on previous rolling training, so I'm not going to go into that now. You're going to end up, obviously, with an outcome once you've done your contacting. You need to explain this to your team member. So if they're a yes, you need to start putting them into an activity tracker. Now, whether that's the one that's in your First Steps to Manager, or whether it's in your 1 to 31 folder, is up to you and the system that you've developed. But if it's a yes, you're going to pop them into that activity tracker because you're going to send them a video, or you're going to sit down with them and do a one-to-one. And remember, if it's possible, the face-to-face is always better. If they're a no, you're going to offer them a product, and you might just kind of think about moving them and contacting them in 2 to 4 months' time. What people say is that if you're working part-time, you're going to have 20 people on the activity tracker or in your folder at one time, and if you're working full-time, you should have at least 30 or more. Okay, so decide how you're going to track the activity and work out a system that suits you. I know that various teams have got different systems in place. Personally, for me, the 1 to 31 folder is the one for me. Once you've done your contacting, you've done your showing of the business, then you've got options for your business presentations. Remember, there are many options now, so you're going to be inviting your guest either to a business presentation up at TCOM. Tuesday nights are the ones for that. A face-to-face, a live one is always brilliant, and the recruitment rate is very, very high. If they can't make that, we now have other options as well. We've got online business presentations. We've got a 20-minute one which has been running sort of once a month. Last night we did, and I know that Claire's dream team have been doing the live Facebooks. Again, they seem to have gone really, really well. So you've got that as an option as well. So you've got various options throughout the month of how to get a business presentation to people. And there are also recorded versions of the 20-minute one as well if you need to send one really, really quickly and there isn't another option. So you've got at a venue, you can always go to someone's house and do one as well. And if you're not confident, get your upline or your upline manager to come along to meet your prospect and do a business presentation then. And then the next thing you should be doing is to looking at the daily activity. So make a 7-day plan, get the diary open, identify the pockets of time where your team member can work forever and get them organised, because it's very easy to just run away with working time and, oh, I haven't got time, I can't fit forever in today. Work those pockets of time. Many of us have got a system in place now where we identify different colours. One colour is forever time and one colour is non-forever time. And even if it's 15 minutes, if it's there visibly, you can show people that they have got the time. So slot those activities into the 7-day plan or into your diary. Put your launches in, put your put baskets in, whatever activity you're doing, make sure it's all there on view really. And then after this third planning, what we're going to get people to do is, again, they should be listening to the rolling training, but we're going to direct them then to resources that are going to give them confidence to talk about the business and to sit down with potential prospects and talk about the business. So again, we're going to direct them to one-to-one videos, which are all on PowerPod, and we're going to ask them to watch recorded BPs. We're going to ask them to go to a business presentation so that they can learn about the business and also how to talk about the business. Other great things that can really be helpful, and you can take into a planning meeting as well, is if somebody's chatting to a prospect and they're feeling a little bit, or your team member's feeling a little bit lost, get them to put you into a group with their prospect as well, using Messenger or WhatsApp, so that you can help steer that conversation, boost excitement, boost the team members' confidence, and that's going to provide a safety net and some support as well. So your last meeting of the month, or hopefully it's going to be in that first month, it might have gone on a little bit because of people not being ready to retail. You're just going to review progress. You're going to talk about the importance again of being 4cc active, because if people are starting to bring team on board, they're going to have to be 4cc active to get that leadership bonus. So you might need to sit down and map out again what activity needs to be done to reach that 4cc. You're going to start planning for promotions. Again, that involves volume mapping. So if you're not sure how to do that, ask your upline or your upline manager and they can help you. You're going to start getting them organised. Oh dear, there's a bit of a typo there, I do apologise. You're going to do your activity trackers. So again, you can start to use a new activity tracker, one that includes prospecting on there. You're going to have to start encouraging people to get organised with things like business cards and flyers, because if they're starting to talk to people when they're out and about, they need something to hand over as well as get that person's contacts as well. And you might be talking about people's strengths and weaknesses. And homework at this point really is just self-development, whatever they feel is necessary, and also obviously that Sunday rolling training. So the monthly planning then and review every month. So once we've done those first 4 plannings, we're going to go on to a monthly review. You don't really need to see people any more than that. It's entirely up to them. Obviously, if they want to see you more, then that's great. But you can drop down to monthly. You're going to have a general chit-chat about how things are going, do a business review, how were things last month, how did the plan you set go, did you reach your targets? You're going to look at areas where your team members might need to improve or might need some help. And if they're not recruiting by this point, or they feel that they want to, you need to sit down and show them how. So it might be that you're going to sit and compile some messages together, look at the messages that they're sending. Are they appropriate? Are they not? And look at future goal setting. That's really, really important on a monthly basis. So where can you find help then and self-development? Well, as I've already said, PowerPod's great for planning with your team and how to do those planning sessions. You need to look under business cycle and action, and you need to look at the videos to do with goal setting, the first planning meeting, and planning and beyond. There's some I can't remember who does it now, but there's a video on there of a first planning meeting, which is great. The other thing is every team has a checklist. So certainly on Sunshine, I've just put a checklist up. It's in the files, and that means that you can run one off for every new team member, and it's going to help keep you on track with what needs to be done each planning session, what homework needs to be done, and then what needs to be done beyond those first 4. So I think, yes it is, that's it. So I hope that's been helpful. Like I say, it's not you must do this. Every team member is different, but this is a structure that hopefully can keep you on track with that planning, give you ideas, take what you want from it. Like I say, it might not suit everybody and you might be doing something a little bit different, and that's okay. If it works for you, keep going. But if you're feeling a bit lost, hopefully that might have given you a little bit more structure. And good luck with helping your new team members get their businesses started. Enjoy the rest of your evening.